Today, the 10th of July, 2024. Before we begin the formal agenda, I've just got to draw your attention to a number of issues, really. The meeting will be live streamed on YouTube. So if any member of the public attending this meeting objects to being filmed, please advise us immediately and we'll ensure that they are not included in the filming. Although I stress the public gallery will not feature in the live stream and the public speakers will only be filmed from the back. So is there anybody in the public gallery that's concerned about appearing on YouTube? Okay, that's fine. Members, we've got queue to speak. Do you want me to run through, or are you all comfortable now that we know how to use it? Okay, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for that. Right, we move on to the formal agenda. Could I have apologies for absence, please, Helen?
Chair, you have apologies from Councillor Laura Jane Miller-Jones. And no substitute has been advised.
Thank you. Was that a bit of a fanfare? Okay. Members, we turn our attention to the minutes of the meeting held on 5th of June, 2024. Are there any comments or corrections, please? In that case, could I have a proposer, Councillor Whittam, and a seconder, please? Councillor David Smith. So the minutes of the 5th of June are unamended and proposed by Councillor Whittam and seconded by Councillor David Smith. Could I see a show of hands in favour, please?
Thank you, Chair. That's unanimous. The minutes are confirmed.
Thank you, Christine. Could I just be clear? There's some feedback. I mean, where are we?
Just check they haven't got their mobile phones near their microphones.
Yes, just check you haven't got your mobile phones near microphones. You would be so kind. Whilst we're doing that, I shall now turn our attention to the declarations of interest, agenda item 4. And as usual, I shall read out the statement. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable or non-registrable interests which they have in any item of business on the agenda, no later than when that item is reached and when appropriate to leave the meeting prior to discussion and voting on the item. Are there any members at this stage that wish to declare an interest? Councillor Mildmay White.
From Parish Council. And when it comes to item 6, as a previous chairman of Barley Homes, to ensure there's no perception of bias, I would like to speak as ward member, but then leave the room for the discussion.
I think that's acceptable, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's good. Councillor Neal, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm the ward member for item number 7, and just this been discussed at Town Council, so but I've got an open mind on it. It's not.
I'm going to say, as long as you've got an open mind on the item, then that's under discussion. That's fine. Yes, it's just for transparency reasons. Thank you, Councillor Neal. Councillor David Smith, please.
Yeah, just the usual declaration for transparency that I discussed item 7 at April Town Council. Thank you. And I'll keep an open mind, obviously.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Councillor David Smith. And Councillor Jim Thorndike.
Thank you, Chair. Item 8, been discussing to the Cabinet, which are not in parallel with planning, shall we say. So no real interest, but I'll declare it for the sake of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's acceptable. Christine. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Any more before we move on to the first item? No? Good. Right, we turn our attention now to 26 Hamlet Road, and the presenting case officer is Greg. So you can begin your presentation, Greg, when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I thank you for your time today. The application that shall be presented before you has the application reference DC/24/123/FUL. This is an application that is situated at number 26 Hamlet Road and is within the defined settlement of Haverhill. The proposal is for the change of use from class C3 to C2, which is from a dwelling to residential children's care home for up to 4 children. The application is presented to the committee after having been referred by the delegation panel on the 18th of June. Here we can see the location and GIS plan for the application site, which also shows the immediate surrounding area. We can see the application site here, which is enclosed with the red line, which is northwest, at which point it meets Tudor Close, which is an adopted highway. The adopted highways are shown on the GIS in grey. This cluster of dwellings, which front Hamlet Road, have access provided to them at the rear of the application site. The access is provided from Tudor Close and uses a private single-track road. The Hamlet Road conservation area is denoted on the right-hand side by the dotted red line. The application site is situated adjacent to, but outside of this conservation area. We shall now move on to the site plans. Here is the existing block plan, which shows the position of the dwelling within the plot. So Hamlet Road would be up here, and then we have the private access road to the rear here. So we can see this area is hard standing, where the vehicles are demonstrated on the plan, and we have the gates here where the red dot is, and we also have a garage which is within the ownership of the application site. Moving to the proposed block plan, the key differences between the two plans are the relocation of the gates. These are now in line with the existing garage. Additionally, the hard standing has been widened from that which is currently present to be along here, so we can see that in comparison to the garage on the previous one. The existing ground and first floor plans will now be shown. The development does not seek additions or alterations to the host dwelling, and any internal alterations fall outside of the planning system. We will see this on the proposed floor plan that we switch to now. So we can see the internal change is the division of the currently open plan living and dining room. There are no further changes to the floor plans. I'm now going to move to some photographs of the application site and the wider surrounding area. So here we can see the front elevation of the application site. This is central in the image shown. This has been taken from Hamlet Road. This photo and the photos moving forwards, the red arrow on the right-hand side denotes the images have been taken from. And this image is looking south down Hamlet Road towards the application site, which would be on the right-hand side, approximately here. And this is the reverse of the previous image. It's looking north on Hamlet Road with the application site on the left-hand side. This image is moving up Hamlet Road towards Tudor Close and is moving closer towards the entrance to the private road which serves these dwellings along here. So we're just going to shift to the other end of Tudor Close, so we can see looking back down towards Hamlet Road here, that's where they join, and then we can just see the entrance to the private access road on the right-hand side. The next images are going to show the access, and we're going to move along this road towards the application site. So here we have a direct view down towards the application site, and moving further along we can see the some of the neighbouring dwellings on the left-hand side with garaging and waste storage arrangements present for those dwellings. And this image is taken further along this road, so we can see that the garage, which is within the application site, and partial of the rear gates just on the left-hand side there. And switching to an image of the existing rear gates, a partial rear elevation of the host dwelling, and the neighbouring garage on the left-hand side. Here's a view of the rear of the application site showing the existing hard standing and garden area. And now just looking back down the road towards Tudor Close. And we're going to show a short video clip now which just shows the access to the rear of the application site which has been taken from Tudor Close. I'll play that now for you. And I shall now move on to a summary of the comments and representations which have been received during the consultation process. It is noted that the application has undergone 2 periods of wider public consultation as a result of the receipt of amended layout. Haverhill Town Council have objected to the proposal due to parking and impacts on the conservation area and amenity space. The ward member, Councillor Luccherini, has objected to the proposal. Comments can be seen within the committee report, and a separate written representation has also been submitted to the committee. This will be heard as an audio file following the conclusion of the presentation. The most recent public consultation receipt of 19 representations, all of which have objected to the proposal. The primary areas raised within these representations include traffic and highway safety, parking, amenity, commercial use, and other accommodation in the area. Public Health and Housing have no objection to the proposal. Additionally, Suffolk Council, as local highway authority, have no objections subject to compliance with plans. It is worth noting at this point that the road to the rear of the application site that we've just shown on the photos is not an adopted highway and does not fall within the remit of Suffolk Highways. The road to the rear of the site is a private road. Waste Management have objected to the proposal. This is the first time that we have had a Waste Management objection to this type of proposal. The applicant has stated they would use the existing waste arrangements, as has been the case in other proposals, but I will return to this further in the presentation. The Conservation Officer has not objected to the proposal due to its position outside of the conservation area and the lack of built development that is proposed. I will now go through the key areas for consideration when assessing a development proposal of this kind. Firstly, the principle of development needs to be established. The relevant policy for this application is DM23, which concerns special housing for vulnerable people. The policy states that proposals should meet particular criteria in order to be acceptable. Proposals should meet the needs of the residents, include appropriate amenity space, be well served by public transport, community and retail facilities, and not create an over-concentration of similar accommodation. The application site is in a residential street within the housing boundary and is therefore appropriate for this type of development. The amenity space at the application site is considered to be acceptable and in line with other applications of this nature, both locally and nationally. Additionally, the application site is near to public transport services and community retail facilities. With regards to there being an over-concentration of similar development, it is noted that number 40 Hamlet Road is also within use class C2. Policy M23 is worded in the manner that it is so as to ensure that local services accessed by the occupants of a development are not adversely affected and to ensure that the overall character of the area is not significantly changed. It is not considered that local services would be used to the extent that they would be materially and negatively impacted under this development. It is also considered that the presence of this development in combination with the existing care home would not materially change the overall character of the area. The principle of development for this proposal is therefore acceptable. The impact on the character and appearance of the area arising as a result of the development is considered to be acceptable. This has been concluded as a result of the lack of external works at the host dwelling, particularly at the principal elevation, which is closest to the conservation area. Community impacts are a consideration for change of use applications, particularly noise and disturbance arising as a result of the proposal is a material planning consideration. The dwelling would host 2 members of staff at any one time, are also present during the day, and up to 4 children at any one time. Due to the number of people at the application site, it is considered that noise and disturbance would not be significantly greater than that of a typical dwelling occupied by a similar number of people. This is in accordance with the representation received from Public Health and Housing. The possibility of antisocial behaviour has been raised during the consultation. It is considered that the property would be well managed, and given the number of occupants, there would be no reason to conclude that the development would result in antisocial behaviour above what could arise as a result of the dwelling being occupied under its present use class. Change of use proposals should ensure that there are appropriately sited car and cycle parking. Under the proposed development, additional parking spaces have been proposed. This would bring the application site into line with Suffolk guidance for parking. Concerns have been raised as to the parking and manoeuvring at the application site. The local highway authority has not objected to the proposal as a result of the development not having a materially negative impact on the adopted highway. As mentioned previously, the road to the rear of the application site, which also serves other dwellings which front Hamlet Road, is not an adopted highway but is a private road. This road therefore falls outside of the remit of the local highway authority. The use of this road and its ownership is a civil matter and is not within the remit of the planning system. The parking arrangement now exhibits tandem parking, which is a common arrangement at new developments and could occur at any point in the present use class of the application site. It is therefore considered that the proposal would not result in an unacceptable impact on highway safety. Due to the comments received from Waste Management, it is considered appropriate at this time, should the application be approved, to include a condition for Waste Management. Should the present waste collection arrangement not be continued, a waste management strategy containing private arrangements for waste collection would be required to be submitted to the local planning authority. During the consultation period, a number of representations have been made which raise the issue of commercial use. I would like to note that the use classes in which the planning system operates and in which types of developments sit does not specifically define or refer to commercial use. As such, whether a development proposal is for commercial use or otherwise, this is not a planning consideration for a change of use development, and proposals are assessed and their position within the use class order is taken into account. Additionally, legal covenants on the private road to the rear of the application site have been mentioned during the consultation process. As touched on earlier, these fall outside of the planning system and are a civil matter. In summary, the proposal, which seeks the change of use from C3 to C2, is supportable within the policy framework. The impacts arising in the additional areas discussed are also considered to be acceptable. This concludes the presentation, and I shall now hand back over to our chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Greg. In terms of registered speakers, we have Martin Page. Martin, welcome. Now you're speaking on behalf of yourself and fellow neighbouring. Yeah, thank you. And then we have Councillor Aaron Lucarini. Now we've got an audio file from Aaron. Is that going to be played through the system or
Greg.
through Greg? Okay, that's fine. So Martin, you have 3 minutes, sir, to address the planning committee.
Oh no.
Sorry, when it goes red, it needs to be red. Just touch it and take your finger away and it'll go red.
Okay.
And that's on. Thank you.
Good morning. The residents of Hamlet Road accept the need for well-run children's homes in the community, but these should be the right homes in the right location. However, this application appears to have been compromised from the start. You will have received via email a letter from a planning solicitor at Ashton School, our planning objections, and another contact for your perusal. We would like to reiterate the following point. Saturation. Policy DM23 states the proposed development will create an overconcentration of similar accommodation in any one area. Hamlet Road has children's homes 75 metres from the application, plus a supported for the homeless children's home nearby. This would result in 4 care facilities of all nature within 400 metres. Access. The narrow private access lane constructed in the 1950s is not an adopted highway. It is for residents' access only and will not the extra traffic will bring. Waste management. That this has not been given the required by the case officer. Waste Management have stated that with the change to Class 2, they would no longer be able to serve the dwelling due to access issues at it. Stated in items 45 and 46 of the case officer's report, this application requires a suitable solution to be found before a decision can be made. Parking. Vice plans in no way address the issues raised about the suitability area within the property, or the entry and exit access for 4 vehicles, creating tandem parking and no space for manoeuvrability within the site. There will not be a good line of sight when reversing into the back lane due to the low space and the display of the newly proposed gates and fence, which will also block the line of sight of the 24 entering their garage and parking space. These issues will be exacerbated not only at shift changeover with outside visitors when multiple vehicle movements will be required. Some of the Suffolk Guidance for Parking 2023 conditions have not been met. 4. Residential parking design. 4.1 on-plot parking states that while parking is acceptable on plot, it should be avoided which offer general. 4.33 rear gardens states that the option of providing parking in rear usually be acceptable. Disadvantages related to the comings and goings of motor vehicles, which may disturb the quiet environment of private gardens. Consider that there are several material considerations that do not comply with the council's local plan, and therefore justify the refusal of this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. I understand why you wanted to actually interject. I didn't want to spoil the objectors. But we have some serious problems here, in all fairness, again, and it's becoming increasingly frustrating, in all fairness.
Penny went out to speak to her. Who did she speak to? First. Said they know there's a new box, which is probably that audio box, isn't it? Yes, what's causing the problem.
Okay.
Can you hands for you?
Yeah, there you go. Just bear with us a sec. We're just trying to see what our technical team on site have got to comment on. It's going to be interesting. We play Aaron's. Members, we're just going to adjourn the meeting. Can everyone just stay where they are? We're going to reset the system, and then that way that should help. And then Penny's just gone out to get Verse to do that. Oh, she's not. She's still there. Sorry.
Yours is good.
See, mine's okay, isn't it? I mean, members actually wished mine wasn't working most of the time.
Martin wants to try again with
Well, I suppose there's a suggestion you could try again, but I don't want you to have to start it a third time. Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel could cut it out. Rachel could turn it off if it starts playing up again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So a slight nuanced approach to this. Start using your microphone. If it starts to cause some concern, we'll automatically cut it off, and then you can continue. Because I wouldn't want to restart this again for you, because it's stressful enough as it is, in all fairness. Certainly when I've been sat where you are as a parish councillor, I knew, I was always a bit nervous. So would you mind trying again with the mic? Yeah, we'll cut it off, yeah. Yeah, okay, but just press your mic again and make sure it's red. Yeah. Just wait for it to go red.
Okay.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for bearing
Good
with
morning.
us.
Residents of Hamlet Road accept the need for well-run homes in the community. These
I was going to see if that.
this application appears to be compromised from the start. You will have received by email a letter from the planning solicitor at Ashton's Legal with our planning objectives, and another containing photos for your perusal. We would like to reiterate.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you very much for bearing with us on that. We are now going to attempt to play, hopefully, Councillor Lucarini's audio file. Hopefully that isn't disturbed by interference. If it is, we've got a written supporting document, which I think, Helen, you'd have to read out. Okay, let's play Councillor Lucarini. He's the ward councillor for this application. We need the volume up.
It's up.
Okay, we're going to Helen, to my right here, is going to read out Councillor Lucarini's statement. It's going to be a lot easier than trying to adjust. Okay, that was a maximum volume. Okay, Helen, you know you've got 3 minutes.
Yep.
Thank you.
I am Aaron Lucarini, District Councillor for Haverhill Central. I'm speaking today to object to the planning application for the change of use of a dwelling on Hamlet Road into a children's care home. While I welcome well-located children's homes, this particular proposal raises several concerns regarding its suitability for the specific property and its impact on the surrounding area. Hamlet Road, a residential street within a conservation area, already houses multiple commercial properties, all of which have been converted from houses. This application adds to a growing burden and risks exceeding a reasonable limit on development in the area. The property's access is limited, with steps leading to the front access and a single-track, privately maintained access road to the rear. This poses challenges for disabled children, visitors and staff, which haven't been addressed by this application. The plans eliminate the rear garden for car parking, leaving an insecure, unsafe and inadequate front garden as the only outdoor amenity space for children. The front garden slopes towards a busy road and is enclosed with only low-level fencing. Given the property's position in a conservation area, it would be detrimental to the street scene to install high-level fencing. This raises concerns about security, privacy, and the ability for children to play and relax outdoors. The proposed parking spaces are insufficient, and manoeuvring on and off the site is cramped and restrictive. Vehicles leaving the property would be reversing out onto the single-track road without line of sight. The parking arrangement leaves 2 cars blocked in, which means throughout the day car swapping would be required. This high number of vehicle movements required will cause noise and congestion, which will disrupt the peaceful character of the area and poses safety risks on the single-track access road. The 4 spaces are insufficient and don't take into account the number of staff, visitors and deliveries that could be on site at the same time. Staff handover times are of particular concern. During this period, there won't be enough spaces for all staff on site. During this time, staff could end up blocking the lane or parking on Hamlet Road, which is a main thoroughfare through the town, a bus route, and is already lined with parked cars. Simply put, the shared access road used by residents is not designed for the additional traffic this development would generate. I urge the Development Control Committee to reject this application. The proposed children's home is not compatible with this property or the surrounding area, would negatively impact on residents' quality of life, and presents serious safety concerns around parking and access to the property.
Thank you very much indeed, Helen. Right, members, it's time for the committee to debate the application. Hope we don't have, my mics is clear, Helen's was clear, so hopefully, your mics will be clear as well. So, who wants to kick off the debate? Councillor London, please.
As no one else wanted to take the first step on this one, a few questions, if I may, diagnostic questions. So I think the main issue we have here is the private drive. That does seem to be the thing that many of us at the site visit we're talking about. And I'd just like to request clarification on the statement that it's entirely outside of the remit of planning. I noticed that the next development that we're looking at in Rougham also has some shared private drives. And I'd just like to understand whether we are considering all private drives outside of the remit of planning, or whether this is a specific case that is different for some particular reason that I'm unaware of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor London. I think we could maybe respond to that, because no other members are indicating they wish to contribute.
Thank you, Chair. You all right?
Yeah, it's a Councillor Glossop. You put your hand up, but you just press your button.
Oh, sorry.
I've got. Well, you need to press it again, Councillor Ball.
Yeah, I know, because you said press the button like you were talking to me.
Thank you, Chair. Very much the same as Councillor London's problems. As the question I also rose at the site visit, what is there to stop them altering the plan that they've given us for 4 parking spaces to concrete the whole back end over and just make it parking. Additionally, if there's 3 people, members of staff on site at any one time, if they're working 8-hour shifts, that's 16 to 18 extra vehicle movements a day. They're working 6-hour shifts. That pretty much contributes another 6 to 8 vehicle movements a day along that little lane. But we're not considering that. Yeah, I cannot see that house being acceptable as a children's home, merely because of its location and the size of the property with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waldron. Councillor Holder, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I didn't push the button again. Apologies for not making the site visits on Monday, but that's another story. What I'd like clarification on is that we gave planning permission for a similar sized house a bit further down the road with a similarly steep front garden, enclosed back garden, difficulty parking, little track, etc. So this one, all came to me. So it looks like the one we've already done, which we did give approval to. However, my main question is why West Suffolk's Refuse Department won't collect. The most people who are going to be living there is 7 people at any one time. That's, let's say, 2 adults, 5 kids, or whatever. I live in a multi-generational household, and we have no trouble with our rubbish. We rarely fill a black bin up, and I'm assuming this house has the same black or blue bin that everybody else in the district gets. So I can't see why it's going to be a difficulty for our waste management team to collect from what is basically a normal household generating waste. I think they're sort of making too much of it. It may be for their own operational reasons, fair enough. And there is no problem for the applicant to actually hire a private contractor to collect their waste. So I think it's a bit of a red herring, that waste thing. I think what we've got to remember as a committee is this is an application for looking after vulnerable children who have not got a home and they can be looked after properly. I think everybody thinks they're going to run out into the road every 5 minutes. Some of them, I don't know the ages of them, but I'm sure that's going to be quite a range of ages. And they are going to be let up to walk to the shops and that sort of thing in the fullness of time. Anyway, I'm quite happy with the application, but I'll listen to the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holder. Councillor Glossop, please.
Do I touch it?
No, just speak.
Okay,
Councillor.
you're scaring me. I do share Councillor Lucarini's concerns about where the children will be able to spend some leisure time, because we are saying that the back garden is going to have car parking, and yes, the front garden is very open to the very busy main road. So that does concern me, and I know I don't know the ages of these children, but even if they're older, they might want to, I don't know, bounce a football or whatever. So I do worry about the amount of leisure space there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glossop. Councillor Ball, please.
Thank you. There are a couple of issues, but I don't think parking is the main issue. We're giving a lot of weight to it. But if it was a residential, an ordinary home, you would have exactly the same traffic. The shifts of the workers, I believe, in the papers are 12-hour shifts, so there's not going to be that much movement of cars. Practicalities come into it, talking about, when the 4 cars are there at the changeover of shifts, how they all, if they park in tandem, 2 go out together and 2 come in together. I don't see the complication. There's a lot of common sense with the parking things. deliveries. Well, most of us get deliveries to the front of our house. In town areas, it can be quite difficult, but the postman's not going to come round to the back. I don't think there's going to be any more traffic, and I don't see parking as this big issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. I'm going to take this. There's no one on the committee wishing to speak, so I'm going to go to officers now to address some of the issues that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll answer a couple of the points and then hand over to Greg. Councillor London asked about private drives being outside the remit of planning. Obviously, we see lots of layouts that have private drives, or we see proposals that are accessed by private drives. The issue that is not a material consideration is whether an applicant or a proposed use has a right of access over that private drive. That would be a private matter between the parties. So it's a civil matter separate to planning considerations. Obviously, we do deal with private drives in all aspects of planning applications, but it's the civil matter of whether you have a right of access that isn't a material planning consideration. And then, Councillor Holder, I think you answered your own question really in terms of the waste team here at West Suffolk. It is an operational matter for the waste team as to whether they deem it appropriate to collect bins from this property or not. But you'll see in the recommended conditions we have, in terms of our interest as a planning authority, it's to ensure that there is proper waste collection, and we do have a condition recommended at the end of the report covering that. And I'll hand over to Greg, who's got a few other answers for you.
Thank you. I would just like to go to what some of the areas that Councillor Waldron raised with regards to the possibility of additional hard standing at the rear. Under a change of use application, this property would lose its permitted development rights as a dwelling. So if they wished to do that, that would require a new planning application, which would have to be considered. And with regards to the shift, I believe Councillor Bill answered that question. There is 12-hour shifts. And I believe it was Councillor Holder mentioned ages. It's been stated that ages of any children residing at the property would be between 10 and 17. And I think that's everything for now. Thank you.
Thank you, officers. Thank you. Right. I've got Councillor David Smith. I was just about to say I'm seeking further contributions. So Councillor David Smith, please.
Yeah, I was hanging back because I was hoping for a few more contributions, but doesn't seem to be many forthcoming. But yeah, I do share the residents' concerns and Councillor Lucrani's concerns, but I think more of a concern is whether those concerns are enough of a concern, if you see what I mean, and if they are material considerations in this planning application. Yes, but I think whether or not the rear access is highways or not, I think there's still a safety issue, and I think that's what we need to take into consideration. These viewing displays as you enter the property is going to be compromised by the gate being moved back, and has been said for the next door neighbour as well. 24, I think, is going to be a bigger issue for them than it is now. But I haven't really got a lot more to say on that, I'm afraid. Thanks anyway.
Thank you, Councillor David Smith. Okay. Councillor Neil. Oh. Okay. Your voice can carry to me, so that's, I'm sure others, yes. Okay.
That's. I'll just speak. Yeah. I'm sure there was, because it's a care home, I'm sure there was some kind of ratio of recreational space per resident, and I just wondered if that would still apply in this case.
Okay, thank you for that. Your mic sprung into action, actually, so you were amplified for the second part of your speech.
Turn it off.
Councillor London, will you press your microphone, please? Yeah, and you're not speaking now, because that only...
Oh.
Well, you are actually, in all fairness, you're actually next. Oh, no. I don't know what's going on here. I've got current speakers.
I've turned mine off now, but I wanted to speak, but it just went straight.
Okay, Councillor London then, please.
Just as an aside, Chair, I had pressed to go into the queue and I went into the queue and it disappeared out of the queue. So there are queuing issues as well. I just want to definitely pick up on the issues of what is a material planning consideration and what isn't. And also, I have to admit, I've seen a lot of houses in my village which have children, flats that have children in them that have far, far less amenity space than this house. So I have to admit, saying that, you know, a house with a large front garden that fronts onto a busy road is not suitable for having children in, does speak to a certain level of privilege that is in this body that is not necessarily reflected by all members of West Suffolk. I'd like to just check then, with regards to rights of access, not with regards to right of access, but with regards to the built nature of the road and the proposed sort of extension out of the gate and the reduction in the view of the splays that you can see out into that road. Obviously, this is within the red line boundary of this application, so it is not a highways matter. That is a matter for us to determine. Are we satisfied that this change in the rear of the building is a suitable change and will result in a safe entry and exit onto that road for all users of that road? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor London. Okay, let's see if this works. Councillor Chester, please.
Thank you, Chair. I understand the residents' concerns. I think probably the fear will be greater than the reality. I understand the access at the back. I think it will work. It's certainly outside the scope of the planning system. I understand the refuse problem, but that's resolvable. I would like to move approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Chester. Is that seconded anywhere, please? Yeah. Councillor Say, I saw your hand up first, and you were next to speak anyway. Did you want to contribute to the debate?
I don't need to now, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Whittam then. Councillor Whittam, your mic's on now. Yeah.
It's on now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop shouting. During the 1990s, I was a nurse in learning disabilities, and there was a move back then for people with SEN to be moved out of core and cluster sites and the old institutional Victorian bins into an ordinary house in an ordinary street in an ordinary town. But these were generally purpose-built houses on large sites with plenty of parking, plenty of amenity area in residential streets where there was suitable land, and they were far from ordinary houses. They were much larger, although they would have still had only maybe 3 or 4 residents. And it seems that there is a move now for the private sector. Obviously, these were built by NHS or similar organisations. There seems to be a move now to shoehorn people, children, or SEN individuals into an ordinary house, which is not suitable. They don't have the space to allow. And that's just a comment that there seems to have been a shift over the years to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whittam. I'll have to look up and ask, are there any other members wishing to speak? Because this screen is sometimes quite confusing. Councillor Hood, please. And then Councillor Bull.
Thank you. It's just the clarification. I hadn't seen any references to SEN children in relation to this, so could we just have a clarification? I thought this was...
I'm not aware of any SEN concerns. So could you just clarify? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillor Ball, please. Oh, all right. Okay. Got no one on the screen and no one with a hand up, so can we address those latest queries, please?
Yes, this is a change of use to a C2 children's home, no reference to SEN children. Of course, there may be, but it's not relevant for us dealing with the planning application for a change of use. Council asked a question about did the amenity space meet the standards in terms of the licensing of children's homes, which is outside of the planning authority's remit. There isn't a minimum standard, but certainly from a planning point of view, it's considered that the amenity space shown for this this dwelling is acceptable for the occupation by 4 children. And as Grace already explained, there aren't any now. If it was granted, there wouldn't be permitted development rights for further hard surfacing. And then Councillor London asked about whether bringing the gate forward to the limit of the private drive would be safe. Certainly haven't got any objections from the Highways Authority on that basis. And if you look at the alignment of gardens along the side of the private drive, there are indeed already some rear gardens that have their fences right up to the edge of the private drive. I think that's all the questions.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, Councillor London, please. Try your microphone, Councillor London, just so that we can all hear you.
Is that working?
Yes.
Wonderful. Just 2 things. One, which is I'm aware that Highways have not made a comment with regards to the small road out the back. That's because it is a shared private drive, and therefore they have explicitly stated that it is not within their remit to comment on that drive. So we cannot use their absence of words as approval. They have said that it is outside of their remit. So I'm asking specifically, as it is within the red line boundary of the site, and we have we do have a remit within planning to look at highways, and this is outside of the remit of highways. I'm assuming, therefore, that responsibility falls on us to look at that safety issue. So I'm asking what our response to that safety issue is. And then the second one is just a point of order, Chair. Do we have a substantive motion or not?
We do. It's been proposed for approval by Councillor Chester and it's been seconded by Councillor Sayer. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to make a last call for member comments so officers can respond, and then I'm going to test the mood of the committee. Okay, so my last call. Are there any other comments from any members? Councillor Dicker, please.
Thank you. I think Councillor Smith got it right. There are concerns, of course, the concerns. We're dealing with children here. But at the end of the day, are the concerns big enough concerns to be concerned about whether we allow this or not? Personally, I don't think there are big enough concerns at all. I think we've got it right, and we pretty much have done this to death now. We really have. So please, Mr. Chairman, can we go to the vote?
I will, once we've got any response that's required from officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In relation to the gate coming forward to the edge of the private drive, we do not have any concerns. The gates will open inwards and it replicates similar arrangements on other rear boundaries. Thank you.
Councillor Ball, you popped up on my screen. Are you going to add anything to the debate, or is it going to be a repeat?
You can judge. All I was going to say was moving the gate seems to me totally not a problem, because that garage, where it's positioned, is on that line anyway. So I can't see how moving the gates to the front, which open inwards, is going to cause. And I go with Roger Dicker that
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Right, here we go, members. It's been proposed by Councillor Chester for approval, and that's in line with the officer's recommendation, and that's been seconded by Councillor Sayer. Could I see a show of hands in favour of that motion, please? Those against, please.
Thank you, Chair. That's 12 votes in favour, 3 against. So that's carried and the application is approved.
Thank you, Christine. And I apologise again for the technical issues that occurred during your presentation, Martin. So, thank you.
John London was very wrong to say what he said about it.
Yeah. Listen, members, I'm going to propose. Members, please. I'm going to propose that we just take 5 minutes now because I want to know what's happening in terms of correcting the deficit in our audio and the audio side of our presentational stuff. So could I suggest that we get back here? Well, if I say 10 past 11.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Savannah. And you projected very well, by the way. So, right, we've got 4 registered speakers. We've got Mark Sullivan, who is a neighbouring resident, and Helen, you've got a statement to read out on behalf of Mark. We've got a statement from Rushbrook and Ruffham Parish Council, and again, Helen's got a statement to read out from the Parish Council. Then we have Councillor Sarah May White as the ward member for Ruffham, and we've got John representing the agent, Carter Jonas, I understand. So, over to you, Helen, for the first statement, please. And you've got 3 minutes.
I address you as a concerned resident local to the proposed development of 13 dwellings on land opposite Kingshall Farmhouse, Ruffham. I sincerely hope that you will have the integrity and the courage to refuse this application, as it goes against national planning policy in ways too numerous to ignore. Sustainable development should minimise pollution, paragraph 8. This development will significantly increase noise and air pollution resulting from the likely 30 or so cars which will come with the houses, since there are no local amenities and new residents will need to drive to access medical, educational, recreational and commercial services. It does not promote street layouts that allow for easy pedestrian and cycle connections within and between neighbourhoods, paragraph 96, since it will create, in effect, a 4-way junction with no footpath for pedestrians, non-existent street lighting, and a location where large agricultural vehicles, buses, and regularly speeding motorists will combine to create almost certainly an accident black spot. An unacceptable impact on highway safety, paragraph 115. This development does not give priority first to pedestrian and cycle movements, paragraph 116, since the dangers associated with these will be significantly increased. The decision to approve this potential accident black spot carries with it a heavy moral responsibility. Paragraph 180 affirms that the role of planning policy is preventing new and existing development from contributing to, being put at unacceptable risk from, or being adversely affected by unacceptable levels of soil, air, water or noise pollution or land instability. Development should, wherever possible, help to improve local environmental conditions such as air and water quality. This development directly contravenes these aims. Paragraph 191 says that development should mitigate and reduce to a minimum potential adverse impacts resulting from noise from new development, and avoid noise giving rise to significant adverse impacts on health and the quality of life. B, identify and protect tranquil areas which have remained relatively undisturbed by noise and are prized for the recreational and amenity value for this reason. This development is in direct conflict with this recommendation. In conclusion, this development is in conflict with so much of national planning policy that it should render it impossible to approve.
Thank you, Helen. Give you a moment to get your second statement. So this is the statement from Rushbrook and Ruffham Parish Council. Helen, you've got 3 minutes.
The Parish Council have objected to this application based on poor design regarding lack of integration with the village and safety concerns for the new residents. The key concern is the lack of provision for safe pedestrian movement to the key facilities within the village. As you will have seen from your site visit, Kingshall Street has limited footway provision. This development has the opportunity to provide an alternative safe pedestrian route to the rear of some of the properties along Kingshall Street to link it to the Prow network. This route has been recognised by the Green Access team, who have requested a contribution, but this is a fundamental link to ensure that the development can meet planning policy requirements and should be supported by a Grampian condition. The footpath link is also required to support the open space provision offset, paragraph 40, of a contribution to play equipment that is located at Ruffham playing fields over 1 kilometre from the site. Without this footpath provision, it does not deter the new residents from using their cars for short journeys within the village. There is also concern regarding the vehicle access and safety. As you will have seen from your site visit, the southern approach is along a long straight entering the village and then a short bend to the site. Although the site is just within a 30-mile-per-hour zone, there are no distinguishing features that inform the driver you are entering an urban environment. The concern is the visibility provision to the south and how this will be maintained. We trust that a speed survey has been undertaken to define this splay, but as with so many of the junction splays within the village, maintenance of the splay is lacking. The Highway Authority cut verges once a year, which in this case will not be sufficient to maintain a safe access. If the committee is minded to approve this application, then the parish council will accept the decision, but look to the committee to secure the vital links to village services, such as a Grampian condition to link the site to the Prow network instead of the financial contribution, and to ensure the visibility splay is maintained to a height no greater than 0.6 metres from the carriageway surface.
Thank you, Helen. And we now turn to the ward member, Councillor Mildmay White, and you've got your 3 minutes, Councillor. You can try, yes. Just wait for it to go red, okay.
We're giving. Thank you. The parish council and local have objected to on the grounds of highway safety.
It's not working, Sarah.
Particularly for pedestrians and non-highways.
Thank you, Councillor Mildmay White. And now we turn our attention to... No, Sarah, you hear that first. Yeah. John, it's your opportunity. I don't think the mic's going to work. You can try it, but it might. If it cuts out, then you'll have to carry on, sir. And you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Members, thank you for taking the time to consider